Topics we are going to discuss are syntax, object, constructor, static method, static properties, shallow copy, deep copy, and scope resolution operator. Let's have a look at the example of a class. The example of the above class is a class packet. In this, we have defined bit 3:0 command, bit 40:0 address, bit 4:0 master ID, integer time requested, integer time issued, integer status. These are class properties. Function new, command is equal idle, address equal 41 tick b0, master underscore ID equal 5 tick bx, and end functions. The function whole is called class method, and I have described before that the classes consist of class properties and class methods. So between the class packet and entity class, I have defined class properties and class methods. General syntax of a class. The class consisting of syntax is as follows. It consisting of virtual followed by class identifier, parameter, post list, class, and it consisting of class items and entity class. If you have seen here, the word virtual, it is not necessary every time. It is generally used in abstract classes, and the class which consists of keyword virtual before the class is called virtual class, and the parameters, the class which consists of parameter post list, it is called parameterized classes, and between the class and entity class we define the class items, and we can also extend one class from other class using extend keyword. In this syntax consisting of class identifier 1 extends, class identifier 2, and we have class items and entity class. Here class identifier 1 represents the child class, and class identifier 2 represents the parent class. And if you have seen here, before I have mentioned here, if there is a virtual before the class, it is called abstract class, which we will going to learn in my later slides. And if a class consisting of parameters, it is called parameterized classes. If a class consisting of extends with two class variables with two class identifiers at both sides, it represents the hierarchical or derived classes. Now let us discuss about class items. Class items is one which present between class and entity class. Now the class items consists of class properties, class methods, class constraints, class declarations, and coverage group declarations. This is the syntax of class and various types of classes and their definitions and their identifications using keywords and what are present between the class items. So till now we have learned what is class, what is the syntax of class, what does the class consist of, and now we are going to learn about between what will present between class and class items. Syntax description. Now we are going to discuss about the class items and their syntax. The class items are generally present between class and entity class. The syntax description of between class and entity class, we have class items, and we have noted that the class items are nothing but class properties, class methods, and class constructor prototypes, and class with constraints. Now we are going to learn about the class properties and their syntax. Class properties. The class properties, initially let's take an example of class property is rand bit 3:0, and I have taken the rand identifier as ex, and another example is constant local int a equal 10. These are the examples of the class properties. And now I will justify these examples with the syntax declaration of class properties. If you have seen here, the syntax declaration of class properties, property qualifier followed by data declaration. Here it is property qualifier. So So for class property, we need property qualifier followed by data declaration. Property qualifier. Property qualifiers are nothing but random qualifiers and class item qualifiers. So what are random qualifiers? Random qualifiers are rand and randc. So that's why I kept it as rand bit 3 is to 0. And second syntax class properties, constant class item qualifier and data type and class constant identifier constant. So constant is I have placed it as usual. Class item qualifiers. Class item qualifiers are nothing but static, protected and local. So I have kept it as constant. I choose local as another parameters class item qualifier and data type as int and constant identifier as a, and I have assigned it the constant value of 10. In this manner I have declared the constant class properties. Syntax of class method. Syntax of class method is as follows. It consisting of method qualifier followed by task declaration, and or it consists of method qualifier followed by function declaration. Example of it is virtual function void example. Here virtual represents the method qualifier. Let's check out what are the method qualifiers. Method qualifiers are pure virtual or class item qualifiers. So here I have placed it as virtual, I have chosen, and I have taken the function declaration void example. The third one is extend method qualifier and method prototype. Here I have taken extend method qualifier or method prototype. Here method qualifiers are, what are method qualifiers? Virtual. So I have taken it as extend virtual function void example. And the fourth one is extend method qualifier and method example. And fifth one is method qualifier class constructor declaration. You have seen here what are method qualifiers? Method qualifiers are virtual. So I have wrote it as virtual function new. Here virtual means method qualifier and function new means the constructor declaration. In this manner we will define the class method syntax. Class constructor syntax consisting of function followed by new, and it consists of argument, that is port list. Example, it is function new int a. It is the constructor of a class. Syntax of class constraint. Constraint followed by any variable. Let's take c1, and in parentheses we will take the a, since it is declared with data type with rand. Here in this constraint class we will define the constraints of the variable defined with rand. Here a is the variable defined with rand characteristics. So here a is we have taken the constraint that a is greater than 0 and a is less than 20. In this manner we have defined the class items which are between the class and end class. Syntax. Object is nothing but instance of a class. Let us know the meaning of instance. We have know that what is instance. Let us consider an example. Instance of color is red, blue, green. In the manner, what is the instance of the class? We have seen that the class can be used as many times as we can. For example, consider a class packet. And any class. This is the class declaration. This is the program block. In this program block, this class packet can be used as many times as we can. For example, once I have used this packet with some variable p1, and another time I can take it. Let us insert this packet here. Packet p1 is equal to new packet p1. Here the p1 is the variable which denotes the a reference to the class packet, because here I have used it as class packet p1. but in any other way I may use it as class packet P2. So to show distinguish between class packet P1 and P2, I have used this P1. Using this P1, I can able to access all the class properties and class method between class and entity class. That is the importance of this class, importance of this variable. It is a variable until we create an object for it. Let us consider this is the variable P1. If I create an object for it, it will act as an instance of a class. Unless we don't create object, it is a variable forever. This is the object of class packet. Now we are going to discuss about constructor. Constructor is nothing but a new is called a constructor in classes. This new generally creates an object for class variable. At the same time, it is useful to invoke the function declared with new inside the class. That's why it performs dual operation. One is it will create the object, at the same time it will invoke the function declared with new inside the class. Since it allocates a memory for the whole class, it is called class constructor. Now we will see an operation, how it will performs the both operation at the same time for an example. Let us see the example of constructor. Let us see the definition of constructor. Definition of constructor is the new function is called class constructor. The new function creates an object for the class. See, definition is the new function is called class constructor. New function creates an object for the class. Now we will see an example how and other working principles of class. In course of time, it also invokes the function declared with new. Let us see an example how it works in vice versa. Let us consider an example program. Consider a program. In this moment, consider a program. If you have seen, I have declared a class packet. In this class packet, I have given as integer command, and in this integer command is called class property, and I have created a method called function new, command equal 5, $display command equal percentage command and function. Here function new to end function is called method. So what I have said before, the class consists of properties and methods. So integer command is called property, function new to end function is called method. So it is called functions and method. Now I am going to create an object for this in the program block. In this program block, I have taken the packet. What is packet? Is the name of class, and I have taken a variable p, and in right sides I have created a new which is called class constructor, which creates an object for the packet. Object for the packet, which is p, and when it has invoked, it has created an object for the whole object. At the same time, it invokes the function new, and in function new I have wrote the $display command. So it creates the object, at the same time it invokes function, and it displays the output as command is equal 5. Let us see it is through an example. In Linux we are using the cadence tool. We will verify this code and we will find out what is the output of this code using. Let us see the code for constructor in cadence tool. In this cadence tool, I have wrote the program, the class packet integer command function new command is equal to $display, and this program I have been created. This is the same program which I have been explained. Now I was compiling it. I was just seeing what is the output it is. In cadence now I'm just saving the code as using the command wq and that symbol, and I just going to save it and coming out of it and running it in cadence tool. Now I was going to run this using the command, and iron is the command for running the code, sv code in cadence tool, and minus access is for accessing, and rws is read and write, and constructor.sv is the name of my file, and I was going to run out this, and I just saying see the output, and I have got the output as command is equal to 5. Once we will go to the program, just see it out what is the program we have wrote. We have wrote that we have in program block we have wrote we create an object for it. So it create the object, at the same time it invoke the function new and display the command is called file. So that means in program block we did not call the method new, but it invoke it simultaneously create object, and it same time calls the method function declared with new. That's why the new is called constructor, and it also invokes the function new in the class method. Static methods are static properties. Let us see the description of the static properties in details, then we will go for the program execution. Creation of object involves generation of all class properties and class methods in the class. But if you want necessary any one of the class property or class method, class without creation of object, we use the keyword static. We will access these properties using the variable of a class. Let's see the example. This is the example of a static method. If you have seen here I have declared a class Vinay and a program P. In this Vinay I have declared a function with static function void hi and display hi end function end class, and program P Vinay is create a variable V initial begin. In this I have created a variable, but I did not create an object. In this then I was using the variable, I was accessing the hi, which is the method of my method in a class Vinay, and I was directly accessing using this variable V, but I am not creating object. Static property. Static property, if you have seen this here, in this class Vinay I have declared a property as static. In the program P I have declared an object. I have created a variable, not object. Variable for Vinay is V, and I was directly accessing using v.a, and I was getting the output as 10. In this I was getting the output as high, since I wrote I wrote to display the output as high in the class Vinay. Now I open the code in V8 text editor. Since you have seen the class packet integer command, and in this integer command is property and function, it's a method. In this I have wrote a command called 5, and I make a display statements and function. This is a close of a method and a class. In program plus I am initiating the packet p equal new. This we will now save it and compile it in using Cadence NC tool. Here WQ, here semicolon, WQ exclamatory marks represents the save and exit of the VI text editor. Iron -axis plus RWC constructor.sv. These are the commands for compilation of my system Verilog code. Here RWC represents the read and write connectivity. Constructor.sv is my file name. I just now compiling it and seeing the output. I have got the output as 5, which is the command. So now we will check it and see the what is I have wrote in the code using a text editor constructor.sv. This is the thing which I have written in my code. So let me check it out by scrolling to up. Yeah, this is my program. This I wrote when the function new is invoked, create an object and invoke the function new. In this manner I have create object and invoke the function new. Thus the new constructor performs the two functions at the same time. Let's open the file static, which it is the program for explain the static property in VI text editor. So this is our program. Yeah, this is the class Vinay. This is a static integer end class program P Vinay V initial. Vinay is the name of the class and V is the variable. In this I did not create any object for it. Initial begin, in begin I wrote $display and end program. This is my program and this is my class. Let's separate it to have some little bit clarity. Let insert next. Yeah, this is the class and this is the program. So I need to access this a equal to 10 property in class without creating object. So in this object I will using it accessing use v.a, which is the variable of my class. Now we will just save it and come out, then we will execute in the Cadence tool. Semicolon WQ and exclamation mark is the save and exit command for a V8 text editor. We are save it and exit and commanding of it, and we are going to run it. I am compiling the SV code in Cadence tool using the command irun -access plus rwc and static.sv, which is my name of my file. And we have seen here we have got the output as, so I have run the file, which is the file which you have been seen here. In here I have got the run, I have got the output as 10, which is output as 10. So in this way I am able to access the property in a class without creating the object, but with using the variable. Now we will go and check it in the program once again to get some more clarity. Program, yeah, we have started that SV. So this is a program. Let's scroll it up. Yeah. So in this I have wrote class int a and program B. I did not create object, I just create a variable. I am accessing this v.a. Earlier we have discussed static property. Now we are going to discuss about static method. How the method in a class can be accessed in a program block without creating object. If you have seen here, I have created a class Vinay, and in this I have declared a function with static keyword. In the static function I have wrote $display hi, and I have ended the function, and it is the end class. In program P I have created Vinay is the name of my class and V is the variable it, and initial begin I was just asking directly as v.a without creating object for it. Let's see, let's save it and compile in V8 text editor, save it in V8 text editor and compile in Cadence tool to see what is happening. Now I am saving the file, saving my file with the command semicolon WQ and exclamation mark, which is the save and exit of my V8 text editor. We have saved. Now we are running the file static method.sv in Cadence tool using the command irun -access plus rwc static method.sv. RWC is read and write connectivity, and static method.sv is my file name. I just running it now, and just we will see the output, and we want the required output to print hi. So if you have seen here, I have got the output as hi in Cadence tool, because I have wrote in display statement to print hi. Just see the file in this one. Oh, okay, just scroll it up. Okay, in static function hi, I just wrote to display hi. So when I called v.hi, v is a variable of a class, and it called the hi in the function in the class, and in that function I have wrote hi, so it displays the hi in the output. Thus I have called the static methods without creating the object. Before using static property without creating object, and static method without creating object, and later we will see the accessing the static methods and static property without creating variable also uses cooperation operator. Let us see the example how to access the static properties and methods using cooperation operator. If you have seen this here, before example also I have declared a class property using static keyword, and here also I have declared the static keyword, and initial block as usual. I have wrote a statement to display Vinay scopulation dot a on scopulation operator a. In this, the one difference is, before I have created an object, I have created a variable for my class name, but here I did not create even a variable for my class also. In this statement I was accessing my class property int a equal 10 directly using the scope relation operator. So in this manner I am able to access the property defined with static keyword using my class name instead of variable and object without creating object for my class. Next we will see it. We will save it in the V8 text editor and run it in Cadence tool to see my output whether it is accessing or not. Saving using the command semicolon WQ exclamation mark, which is a save and exit of my V8 text editor. Now we are compiling the static 1.sb code, which is the example of my static property using scope relation operator, and I was going to compile it using the command -access plus rwc static 1.sb, and this is the command for compiling the Cadence tool. I just seeing the output. I have got the output as 10. So what is 10 here? Just check it. So what is 10 here? We will just check it in the program once. So here if you have seen here that 10 is the value of my variable a declared static of data int. I was accessing that value in my program block using the when scope relation operator a. Here when is the name of my class. When is the name of my class. So I was accessing the static properties directly using the class name without creating variable also. Before I was using variable, now it is without variable. Now we are going to see how the static methods can be accessed in a class from a program without creating object. Now we will see how static methods in a class can be accessed from a program block without creating a variable and without creating an object. If I was in here, I have declared a class and I have declared a function with return type void and its name is hi, and the static is the keyword declaration representing the static method. In that I have wrote to display hi, and my method has closed and I have closed my end class. In program block I have declared the p. In this I not declared even a variable for class when I. So but I was accessing directly the class method using my class name Vinay. Now in this manner we can access the static properties and methods without creating variable and object using the scope relation operator. Now we will compile it, we will save it and compile using the Cadence tool. We will just see whether we are getting the required output high or not. We are saving the program using the command semicolon WQ exclamatory mark, which is the command for save and exit in the V8 text editor. Now we are going to run this method using the keyword. Now we are going to run this method, run the program in Cadence tool using iron -access plus rwc static method.1.sv. Now I just run it out and to see whether my required high is coming or not. So my required output high has came. Now we will see the program and just one more clarity towards it. Static method one is my program. So this is my program. I'm just opening of it. I just see it my output my program. And this is the slide which I have already explained by execution. In this we no need to create variable for class. We will access directly using the class name. This is the example for static methods and static properties which you are going to use it using scope relation operator without creating an object, which we have already seen here. Static function access using Vinay scope relation high, which is high is the name of my class. Here static property int a equal to is accessed using Vinay scope relation operator a. In this manner we are going to access all the methods and functions declared as static using scope relation operator. There is one restriction constraint for the static methods, that is the static method can access only the properties declared with static. It doesn't access the methods, it doesn't access the properties without declared static. If you have seen this example, this is a program. In this class, there is a class id. It consists of static int current equals 0 it consists of static function int next underscore id, and it consists of begin and end. In this I have wrote next underscore id score plus plus current. So what is current? Current is a property of class id with static data type, and since it is declared static, then only we can able to access that property in static methods. And in program block, what I am doing is in begin and end, I just accessing this static. Since they are declared, since this is the static method, we can able to access using the scope operation operator, and the name of the class is id, and I was using the id scope operation operator next underscore id. What is next underscore id? Is the name of my method. So the restriction for static methods is it will access only the static properties. We will see it with an execution. This is the same code that I have explained here. Here I have mentioned the code in V8 text editor. There is the same thing. The class id static int current equal to static function. In begin end I have wrote that next underscore id score plus plus current. Current is the static property, and which is used in the static method. And in program block we have been accessing the scope operation operator. Now we will save it and execute it cadence tool to see it what is my output. Since here int current equal 0, since I am starting with 0 and it is the pre-increment, so when I have called this using scope operation operator, it will increment to 1. So our output should be 1 for this. We will execute it and we will check it out what is my output. I am saving my program using the command semicolon wq exclamation mark, which is the save and exit of my V8 text editor. Here I am going to compile my code, and my name of my program is static example1.sv, and I was compiling is the command iron -xs plus rwc static example1.sv. Now I am going to execute this. It has executed. There is an error that package I could not be bound. Let's check it an error for that. This is the example of another example of static. Here we will discuss about one of the most important constraint of static methods. One of the most important constraint of static method is it will access only the static properties. Since you have seen here in this class id, it is a class. In this I have described property current, and it is described with the static keyword, and method I have described as next underscore id, and it I have used the begin end, and I wrote a statement to display, and at the same time I wrote another statement that next underscore is called pre-increment current. So I have closed my class. In program block I have been accessing the my class using scope operation operator, and since my class name is id, so id scope operation operator next underscore id is my name of my class. Next we will check it out what is my output. Since I have started my current as 0, when id scope operation next underscore id is invoked, it will undo pre-increment and current will increase to value of 1. We will check it out by saving and exiting and compiling this code in cadence tool. Here semicolon wq exclamation mark is the command in V8 text editor to save it and exit. Here iron -xs plus rwc static example1.sv is the command in cadence tool to compile it. If you have seen here, rwc is read and write connectivity, static example1.sv is my sv code. Now we will execute it and we will see whether my output 18 is coming or not. If you have seen here, I have got the my simulation is completed and I have got the output 1. Under run you will see an output as 1. And in this manner I have finished the static concept. Next we will move to deep copy and shallow copy. Let us see the example. Let us see the shallow copy. In the shallow copy, let us see here I have declared a bustron. Bustron is the name of a class. For that name of the class I have declared two handles. One is b1 and b2. For b1 I have created a object. Now I was copying that object b1 into b2 using this command b2 is equal to b1. We will check it out what happened to this copy. Since we have created new constructor for both b1 and b2, two objects are created. One is for b1 and b2. Let's check it out what the functional difference occurs in shallow copy. This is the theoretical explanation of the shallow copy. In this shallow copy, if you have look, we have a class A with consisting of property integer j is equal to 5, followed by class B it consisting of integer I is equal to 1 and a equal to new. Here A represents the name of my class. That means in class B I was instantiating my class A and I was creating a variable for it also, a small a, and I have created object for it. So in this manner a class A is there, I was inserted class B. Let's check it out what is happening here. I have created a function integer test. Integer is my return type, test is my name of my function. What happens in this, I have created object for B1. What is B1? What is B? B is the class name, class B. In this B1 I have created an object handler, that is B1, which is nothing but a variable, and I have created an object for it with using a new construct. So in this manner we have created an object, and here we have copied it B1 into B2. Now we will check it out what happened if I did the shallow copy. If you have seen here, I have updated the copied, means B1 is copied to B2. That means B1 is the original class and B2 is the Xerox class. So now what happened is, now I was updating the B2 with a value of I is equal to 10. Since both B1 and B2 refers to the same class B, and I was updating my B2 with B2, since B2 represents the variable of class B, I was accessing B2.I. What is I? I is nothing but class property in B. B2.I is equal to 10. I was accessing this. I was updating the Xerox class with I is equal to 10. What I was in, at the same time I was updating the method in Xerox class class main. I was updating the class main. In this Xerox class, in Xerox class of B2 we have another class A, and which is defined with class A, and it is defined a variable small a, and I was accessing through this Xerox class, I was accessing the class which is instantiated in B using the command bit.a.j is equal to 50. Here B2 represents the Xerox class, A represents the class which is instantiated in class B, and J represents the value of class which is instantiated in B, that is integer j is equal to 5. Now we are running a test and printing out what are the values present in b1.a and b1.a.j. Till now we have seen the theoretically. Just we'll see everything with the pictographical representation is as follows. We have seen the pictorial representation. What is B1? B1 is nothing but a object for class B. What are present in class B? It consisting of class property and instantiation of other class. So in the same manner, in this class B I have I is equal to 1. What is I? It is the class property, and A. What is A? It is a class handler of capital A. So in this, when I have created an object for B1, these are these are present in B1, that is I is equal to 1, and A is nothing but the object handler of class A. These are present. When I have copied this, since it is object handler of A, so that A reference to the object j equal to 5. This is the object creation when I have acquired B1 is equal to new. When I have acquired here, when I have wrote the statement B2 is equal to new of B1, which is a shallow copy statement, what happens is it copies everything. That means it copies what are the variables present, that is I is equal to 1 and A, but it does not copy the object for the class A. That means it has just copied the variables of A, but it does not copy the object of class A. That is the difference of shallow copy. That means it copies the object handlers, but it does not copy the complete object. That means class A, it has some object, and I have created an object here A equal to new. but it does not copy the all object, but it has copied just the variable. And here the Xerox copy differs from the virtual copy, that is B2 is the Xerox copy of B1. So what happens is this both B2 Xerox copy and virtual of B1 access the same object handler j is equal to 5. This is the most important regarding this shallow copy. Since both Xerox class B2 and original B1 access the same object of class A, the updation of the class A by either of the original class or Xerox class has its effects on other. That means now if you have seen here, I was updating b2.i is equal to 10. Initially I is called value 1, but I am updating it as value of 10. Next, if you have seen here, in b2.a.j equal 50. That means now both b1 class, object handler b1 and object handler b2 both are accessing the same object a, j equal 5. Now I was updating b2.a.j. b2 is nothing but the object handler of class b, and it is handling the class a, since a is also object handler of class capital A, and in this I was accessing the j. What is j? J is nothing but a property in class A. I was updating that value to 50. Now we will check it out how it has its effect on the shallow copy. I have created the test. In this test I have written that this test is equal to b1.i. What is b1? b1 is nothing but the object handler of class B. In this class B, I have print, in this object handler I have asked to print b1.i. What is b1? b1, in this b1 what is the value of I is 1, so it will reflect here. So I have got the output as 1. At the same time, here if you have seen here, I was updated the value of j equal 15 b2.a.j, but I was not updated in b1.a.j. So if you have seen here, now we will check it out what is the value of in b1.a.j. Unexpectedly we will get as b1.a.j is equal 50, but here a j equal 5 is not updated by b1 but it is updated by b2. Since both they share the common object, the updation of value in a has its effects on other. This is nothing but the shallow copy. Next, now we will see it with then program execution completely in my next slide. This is the example program of shallow copy which we have described with an before with the pictorial representation. I have created two classes in program. I have named program as shallow. In program block I have been created two object handlers for class B, b1, and I have created an object for both b1 and b2, and I was accessing b1.a.j is equal to 10, and now means I was changing the value of j equal 10 using the object handler b1. Now I was just copying the object handler b1 to b2. That means I was just completely copying the class of b1 to b2. Now I was doing this, I was just now I was changing, now I was accessing the value of j through object handler b2. So now we will check it out what will happen, what this changes make effect on this both b1 and b2. Now we will check it through the execution of this program. This is the program which I have written in the V8 Executor, and then I will execute in the Cadence tool. So one important thing is we need to look at this. The object b1 is copied into b2 using b2 equal new of b1. Now we will check it out what are the changes having takes place when I was updating the value b.a.j is equal 50 to b1.a.j. Now I was saving the program in V8 Executor and executing out using the command ;wq. In this I am going to compile the program which is in the file shallow.sv using the command iron -xs plus r shallow.sv. Now we will check it out what is the output. In this we have got the Xerox b.a.j is 50 and original b1.a.j equal 50. That means the Xerox the copied which is the one and the original both are sharing the same object. Since both are sharing the same object, we are getting the same output b1.a.j is equal 50 and b.a.j equal 50. Now we are going to discuss about the deep copy. Deep copy, we have seen that deep copy can be explained with the above 4 steps. That we know that the classes can have class properties and instantiated objects. And before example, we have seen that class B consisting of some property I and instantiated object, that is class A, and is represented as capital A and small a equal to new. In this way we have instantiated the object of small a in class B. And if you have performed the shallow copy, it does not copy the object, it just copy the variables. That means instance qualification can be changed as needed to reach through the objects. That means if we want to access the any class property of a class which is instantiated in other class, we can use the chaining method, that is b1.a.j. So now if you have seen the this is the syntax of a deep copy. Now we will explain with an example. This is the deep copy explanation. If you have seen this in little bit closer, we can find that it consists of a class A, class B, and function integer, which is of seen as in the before example, but it has consisting of a statement b2.copy of b1, which is the syntax of deep copy, and it also consisting of some pictorial representation. If you have seen that the same example, but if you have seen now the pictorial representation, that means the syntax is same as before. If you have seen the pictorial representation, that if in the deep copy b.copy of b1, if you have seen b2, that both object handlers b1 and b2 have their own object j equal to 10. That means we have seen this, that b, which is the name of a class, and b1 is object handler for class B, and we have created an object. So for b1 we have b1, and it has its own object for class A, which is object handler is A, and in that A we have got j equal 5. If you have seen at the same time b2 is equal to new, it also consists of its own object for class B, and it also consists of an object for class instantiated, that is class A, which is by the object handler A equal object handler A, and it consists of j equal 10. That means that both b1 and b2 has their own object handlers for their own class, as well as for their instantiated class, means the class which is instantiated in that class. That means since class A is instantiated in class B, in deep copy we have got an object for both for their own class as well as instantiated class, but in shallow copy we don't get it. In shallow copy the Xerox and original thing should share the same instantiated class object. Now we will keep a test for both b1 and b2. Now I was updating using chaining b1.a.j is equal a.j, and I try to print out the value what is in b1.a.j and b.a.j, because we have seen here in this example I have updated the value of b1.a.j is equal to 10 here, and I have updated b.a.j is equal to 50, since both have the different objects and they are updated separately. Now we will see the output what is there, and we will get the output as b1.a.j is equal to 10 and b.a.j is equal to 10, b.a.j equal to 50, since both they have the separate objects and they are updated separately. Now we will see it then program execution in the next. This is the program execution flow of deep copy. In this deep copy we have something like class B, class A, and it is a program, 2 object handlers for B, memory allocation for B1, object creation of B2, and updating the value of a.j equal 10, performing deep copy, and updating the value of j equal 50, which is the property of class A. And now we just try to print out the values. Now we will see what is present, what will be the output, and my required output will be 10 and 50, since both are updated. What have their separate objects, they will update separately. Discuss about the topic data hiding, which is the concept which are taken from the object-oriented language. In data hiding, now we can able to access the required class property or method using the static method instead of creating the object, and we can able to access all the class properties and methods. But now I don't want to access my class property other than in my class. That means it cannot be changeable and modifiable accidentally or incidentally out of my class and even in the program block also. Then we go for the concept of data hiding. In data hiding we have two concepts. One is local and protected. Local, a property which is declared with local, it can be accessible only within the class. It cannot be accessed outside the class or in the program. But a property which is declared with protected, it can be accessible within its derived class, and except derived class it cannot be accessible outside of its class and its program block. Let us discuss about the concept of data hiding. As I have discussed data hiding, there are two concepts. One is local, another is protected. Now in this I have explained this with an example. Let us see the definitions of local and protected, how it is useful. Definition of local. It is used when we don't want to access class members, class methods outside of the class. When you don't want to access it outside of the class, we don't want to use it. But definition of product, it is itself is a local number. That means it cannot be accessed outside the class, but it can be accessed to the child class. That means outside of the child class we cannot able to access them. That's why we use the keyword protected. If you have seen here, there is a program. In this I have wrote the program. I have declared a class A. In this class A there are integer data, which is a normal class property, and other is the local integer address, which is the data hiding class property. That means it declared the keyword local. And task high, in task I wrote $display print the value of data address and command, and I have declared another class property protected integer command and end class. In program I have created an object for it, and I try to access those three values outside the class. A dot data is 10 and a dot address is 25 and a dot command is 35. When you have create an object for this, we will try to access them. Now when I have compiled it, I have got the errors like this. That is, access to local member address in class A is not allowed here, and access to the protected member CMD is also not allowed here. Since CMD, what is CMD here? CMD is a protected one. Since protected, it can be accessed on its derived class, but I am accessing the program block, so it has thrown the error as it cannot be accessible, and it cannot be accessible here. And there is another error that address in class A is also not here, access not here. What is address? Address is a local one. Since I was accessing the program block, I got the error that address in class A is not accessed here. In this way we will get the error, and we will see it in the practical example how we will get the error through the execution. We are saving it in the VI text editor using the command semicolon WQ exclamatory mark. Now running the program using the command in Cadence tool iron -access plus rwc data hiding.sv. Now we'll check what are the errors will come. We have got the error that address.25 access to local member address in class A is not allowed here. Since it is local, we cannot access it outside the class, but I tried to access it in the program block. In hiding also, access to product member CMD in class is not allowed here, since it can be accessible either within the class or in the derived class, but I tried accessing the program block, so that's why I got this error. Then how to access this protected class and local class, protected and local properties, we will show it in the example. Now we can access the properties declared with local and protected is as follows. Protected can be accessed in the derived class, local can be accessed within the class. Let us see the example. In this there is a class A2, it consists of property, data is 35, and it is a general class property, and there is a protected one, integers command, integer CMD, and there is a class A1 extend A2. Here A1 is a child, A1 is child class and A2 is a parent class, and we are extending the properties, and there is a function new here, and in function there is a command CMD equal 5, cmd equal 5 and I try to display the values and end function end class. That means inside the class a1 I have method. In program block I just try to create an object for a1 which is the child class. Since I create the object for child class, automatically the first object is created for parent class, then only object is created for child class. That means when I create the object for a1, it is also created automatically, and I just try to get the output as since it is new function, it invokes the function new in the class a1 and it prints the value cmd is equal to 5 and data is not in child class but data is present in the parent class, so it accesses that value of data in parent class in the child class. Since data value in parent class 35, it accesses in child class data as 35 and it prints the output as 35. Now I am going to access the local is the thing that we can access only within the class. If you have seen here, there is a class high and end class. Between that there is a keyword with local int x equal 10 and there is a function void joy, and in the function I wrote a $displays x. In program block p1 I have create an object for class high using h1 is equal new 1 and I try to access the access the method joy using the object handler h1 joy. Since when it is invoked, since h1 is new one, when it is created, object is created for whole the class and I have invoked h1 joy. When it is invoked, it prints the value of x, so that's why I have got the value of x is 10. Since I am not accessing the x but I am accessing the method joy outside the class. In this way we can access the local properties declared with the local keyword. I have typed the program which I explained before for local in this vi text editor. Now I will save it and I will execute it in the cadence tool. The whole program is saved using the command -min $eq exclamation mark. Now we will try to run out this. Now we are running using the command iron -x plus rwc data id local.sv. Then we will check it what is the output. We got the data as 10, which is the required output. Since I have declared the local integer value is x, I am getting the value of x. Here I am not accessing the x directly. I was accessing the x within the function because since it accessible only within the class, that function accesses that local variable and I was local variable x and I was accessing that function and I am able to access that local declared property. Let us see the example program for a protected one. How to access protected one? In this protected one, I have declared a command in class a2. I declare class property integer data is equal 35 and protected integer command. That means here I did not declare the value. That means I was accessing it in my derived class and I will assign a value. You have seen that class a1 which is a derived class of a2, and in this function new I was declaring the value cmd is equal to 5. In $, I just try to print out the values when it is invoked function new. In program block I just create an object for a1 child class. If I create the object for child class, initial object is for parent class, so we don't need to create class object for a2. Since when it is created, I just tried since a1 dot a equal new, it invokes the function new in the a1 and it automatically prints the value of data on command, and I need to get the output. I will save it and will check it out what is the output of this. Here I am saving the command using the $eq exclamatory mark. Now I try to run out this program to get the output. What is the required output? I got the values of both data and command. Let's check out the program. We will get some more clarity. If you have seen the command main program, in this data is the normal property and in command there is no value, but in command there is value of 35. So the command, when I print new object is created, command is update value of 5 and data is updated with value of 35. That is the manner that we got the output as 5 and 35. Let us discuss some important conclusions of protected. Till now we can see that protected can be accessed from its derived class. but there are some conditions that protected can be accessed in derived class only if there is no any property declared with the same identifier. If there is a same identifier, let us see what will happen with the example. If we have seen here there is a class A3 integer data 35. I have declared a identifier CMD with data type integer and it is declared with protected, and I was extending it in the A1. And in this, if you have seen here, and this A1 is also identifier same identifier CMD. If you have seen here I have declared my protected integer CMD equal 5, but in child I have declared the integer CMD equal 5, CMD equal 10, parent is 5 and child is 10. If I execute this program and I create an object for this, my CMD is always updated with the child class variable only. It does not update with the it does not access the parent class variable. So to access the parent class protected property, there should be no identifier, there should be no same identifier of, even if it is of same data type or different data types. If you have seen here, both integer protected integer CMD equal 5, integer CMD equal 5 are of same data of integer. Let us see the same example with the different data types. If you have seen here, class A4, it has integer data type, integer data 35, protected integer CMD equal 5 in parent. In child, if you have seen here, I have declared bit 3 is equal CMD equal 10. Before it is integer CMD equal 1, now bit 3 is 0 CMD equal 10. That means it is a bit data type. Both are of same identifier but are of different data types. Even though both are of different data types, my child, if I create an object for this in the program block A1 A equal to new, I mean it creates an object for A1. At the same time it invokes the function new. In function new, I have declared to return the values of data on CMD. Since the CMD value in child is 10 and CMD values in parent is 5, but it updates with the value of CMD equal 10, that is with the value of child class variable. That means it is not accessing the parent class one. So my two conclusions are: protected variable can be accessed in child class until no such type of property identifier in child class is there. If same property identifier with same data type in child class, also it get, even if there is a same identifier with same data type, also it updates with the child class variable only. Even it is a different data type, also it updates with the child class variable. So total overall is, we don't want to be any any identifier declared with protected in child class if it is declared in my parent class. That is the important of this. We will see it with an execution. Let us see the corner cases of protected in this example. In this example, we know that initially we know that the protected variable property can be accessed in derived class. We have seen here in the class which is parent, it has integer command CMD equal 5, and that means since it declared the protected, it is accessible in its child class. But there is another CMD in child class which is of bit data type 3:0. Then what is that? Then my tool will access whether that CMD which is declared in parent one or CMD which is declared in the child one. That is a corner case. We need to test it out. And I test it out in function new. I just try to provide the output of both CMD and data. In program P, I will create an object for A1 and I try to access it. Now we will see the output, and the output should be that data is equal to 35 and CMD is equal to 5. Let we will check it out. Now I am compiling the program data heading C2 using this command, and we will check it out what is the output. We have got data is 35 and CMD is 10. Let's look at the program once again. In this, CMD in parent is 5 and CMD in child is 10. Even though it is declared protected, it is not accessible in child. So that means the protected can be accessible in child only when there is no same identifier in child class. Now we have seen that the CMD data type in parent is integer and child is bit. Now we will see that if both both identifier in both child and parent is of integer data type, what will happen? This is another corner case of protected one. In this protected one, in parent class I have declared the integer cmd equal 5 with protected one, and there is a same identifier cmd equal 10 with of integer data type. Here the protected parent cmd is of same data type and child cmd is also same data type. Even though it is of same data type, it accesses only the child class one, cmd equal 5. Now we will run this and we will come to know whether it will access cmd equal 5 or cmd equal 10. And in program block I just create an object for it, I just running it out. I am saving the program using the command semicolon WQ exclamation mark. Now I am going to run out this. Since my program is data heading c1.cs, and I am compiling using the command iron -xs plus rwc data heading 1 c1.sv, and here I got cmd is equal 10 and data is called 35. We will check it out. What is 10 here? In the program, the 10 is the value of the derived class, not the parent class. In this manner, that even we declare the data type identifier with protected in child, it update only with the identifier in child class 1.
Now we are going to talk about the concept of inheritance. Inheritance is nothing but organizing the information in a hierarchical manner. That means in one class we want to declare all the properties and methods. We will declare some of properties and methods in one class and we extend those properties in another class. That is called inheritance. In this one, we will extend one properties and methods of one class into other class with the keyword extend. In this keyword extend, class C1 extends C2. This is the syntax declaration of inheritance. In this inheritance, this represents the child class object handler. This represents the parent class name. This is not object handler, it is the child class name and it is a parent class name. That means there is a class C1 with integer I is equal 10 int class. There is a class C2 integer j is equal to 5 int class. That means these are both separate classes. Now I can able to access these properties, and not only this property, it can have any methods in this class using the hierarchy, using inheritance. That means here I will take out of this C2 and write extend C1. That means this is my class, this is the class from where I want to inherit the properties or methods or anything else. So here I have the property of I is equal to 10. I am able to inherit this property into my class. That means I can use this one, all the properties in C1, in C2. This is called inheritance.
Let's see the inheritance in my slide. Just think of the description. Inheritance. It is a technique of organizing the information in the hierarchical manner. The function. It allows new classes to be older and less specialized classes instead of being written from scratch. That means instead of rewriting everything, we can extend the properties of any class using the keyword extend into method required class. All the class and superclasses shared by the derived classes. Let us see the example. In this example, there is a class packet integer I is equal to 10. In this linked packet, it is the name of my derived class, extend packet, which is the name of my parent class. In this here, in parent class I have integer I equal to 10, in derived class I have integer j equal to 25, and I have created a method function new, and I wrote to display the I equal to %d comma I and j equal 20 comma j. That means it displays my I comma j values when the function u is invoked. In my program block, I have created an object for it for child class. Since I did not create an object for parent class, but I can able to access the properties of my child class, because when the object is created for child class, it initially creates object for its parent class, then only it creates object for child class. Even though we did not want create object for parent class, we can access it. That's why it is update values I equal 10. What is I? Which is in the parent class, integer I equal 10, and j equal 10, which is my child class. I have loaded the program of my inheritance in my way-text data, that is class packet, integer I equal 10, and class linked packet, and everything what I explained. Now I was going to save it and compile it using the cadence tool. I have saved the program using the command semicolon wq exclamatory mark. Now I am going to run the program using the command irun -access plus rwc inheritance.sv. So here I have got the values of I equal 10 and j equal 25. The one thing you need to see it is in program AX5 I have created an object for only my child class, that is linked packet, but not for packet, but I am going to access my parent class also. That is the important property, that if we create an object for child class, it automatically creates the object for parent class also. In this manner you can able to extend the properties of parent class in my child class using the keyword extend.
Now I am going to discuss about the property super. Super is the keyword which is used to distinguish my parent class properties and my child class properties. That means I have a same identifier and which is used in both in parent class and child class, and I need to distinguish them. I use the keyword super. That means there is a class, let it be Vinay. It has integer I is equal 10 int class. Now using inheritance, I was just acquiring these properties. Class Kumar extends Vinay. This is my child class name, this is my parent class name, and here is also integer I is equal to 15, and there is a calculation here. Function new and here I have been using a it is some of the example like some value. That means here I have declared integer j. In function what I am doing is j is equal to I plus super dot I, and I have wrote here $display %t comma j end function end class. Here super dot I refers to this I and this I refers to this I. So to distinguish the same property or methods of my parent class and my derived class, I use the keyword super. If I have print this, if in program block and I create an object for my child Kumar, K1 is equal to new end program, and I will get the output as this I refers to this one 15 plus super data refers to 10, that is equal to 25.
Let us see the description of super in my slide. I have wrote description and a program for it. Just have a look for it. Super, it is description, use it to refer members class value parameters of base class when those are overridden by the derived class. Let's see it with an example. I have a class packet. This is my superclass or base class, and here integer value is called 5, and I have given a function integer delay, and delay is called value star value, end function end class. Here value is the local value, that is integer value equal 5. Here I have taken the linked packet which is a derived class, extend packet, this is my superclass, and here also I have declared the same integer value equal 5. There is integer value is 4, 5 integer value is 4, and in this function integer delay I just made some expression that delay is equal to super dot delay plus value star of super value. When I have been compile this in by creating object for child class, let's see what it will happen. When I create object for child class, when the super dot value is there, it always refers to the parent class one. Since value is 5, so super dot delay is reference to the parent class delay. Parent class delay is 25 plus value. Here value in the linked packet is value in the derived class, that is 4. That is 25 plus 4 star of super dot value is 5. So 5 4s are 20. So 25 plus 20 is 45. So in my program I have got the output as delay is equal to 45. In this manner, to distinguish the derived class parent properties and parent class properties, use the keyword super. This is the same program that I have described before about superclass. Now I am going to save it out and execute it, and we will see whether the output is 45 or not. We are saving using the command semicolon WQ exclamation mark. Running the super.sv code using this command, I ran -access plus rwc super.sv. That we will see the output. So super.sv we got the output as delay is equal to 45. Constant class properties. As I have described, there are two types of constant class properties. One is global constant and other is instant constant. Global constant, value assigned at the time of initialization, and instant constant, value assigned during runtime. Let us see the example for the instant class. Let us consider the example class Vinay. In this class Vinay we have constant int I, and in this class I have declared a function new, and I create I is equal to 10, and end function end class. That means I did not assign the value for property I during initialization, but I assigned during the runtime. When the memory is allocated, at that time I was allocating the memory for my property. That is called runtime value assigned during runtime. And in program block I have create an object for my class when I initial begin, and I try to display the value, and at the end I will get the output as 10. And there is an example for global constant. Global constant is the one that it has class when I constant int I equal 10. That means the value assigned at the time of initialization. In function new I have created an object for it and try to display the value, end function end class. In program P1 I create an object for it, that is when I v is equal new initial begin, and I try to print out this, and I get the output as t equal 20. Since I have assigned initialized globally, it is equal to 20, and I am getting the value of 20 here. And there is a global constant scope operation value. Since if there is a static keyword before the constant, then these globally constant values can be accessed using the scope resolution operator. Since we know that the properties method declared with static can be accessed in the scope resolution operator without creating the object. If you have seen here, for global constant, here instant constant, we have created an object for it. When I v is equal new, here also when I v is equal, but here we are directly accessing using the class name. This is the same program that I have explained you, and I was saving it in my VI texture, and I am compiling it. I am just seeing the output now. It is an example for instant class. Now we will see its output of instance class. We are saving using the keyword semicolon WQ exclamation mark, and we will execute in the Cadence tool. This is the command for running my code for instance in Cadence. I run -access plus rwc constant class.sv. Now I was just running it, and I have got the value of 10. We will go through program once, we will get more constant. That is, in program I have declared the value for property I at runtime. This is called instance constant. Global constant is called instant constants. That means once a value is assigned at runtime, it cannot be changeable at any time. Let us see the example. That here I have declared in class when a constant int I equal 10. That means at the time of initialization we are declaring the value. This is called global constant. In function I just write to display my value of I, and I close my function and I close my class. In program I have created an object for it, and I just try to create an object using v equal new. When new is invoked, it creates object. At the same time it calls the function new and displays the value of I equal 10. Now we will see its output. It is saved using the command semicolon wq exclamation mark. Now I am running the program using the command iron -xs plus rwc constant class 1.sv. Now we will check it whether we will get the value of run is 10 or not. I am getting the value of I equal 10. We will check it from the value constant class 1.sv. Since value is I equal 10 at the time of global initialization, it is called global constant. I have got the value of I is equal 10. Once the value is assigned with, at the time of initialization, it cannot be alternatable and it throws an error. Let us take the global constant with static keyword. Since the constant int I equal, it remains the global constant, and I was represented using the static keyword. And this is the one which I declared in the class when I and end class. And in this I have function new, and I wrote to display I value. In program P I just in program P P1 initial and begin I wrote that percentage decode when I scopeless operator I. Since it is a static keyword, I can access using my scopeless operator. So for scopeless operator we no need to create even variable also. We can directly access using my class when I. That's why I wrote in dollar display percentage d when I scope I here when I represents the name of my class. We will see the output whether it is accessing my output I equal 20 or not. I am saving using the command semicolon wq exclamation mark, and I am running in my cadence tool using the command iron -xs plus rwc global constant.sv and checking out whether I am getting the value of output is 20 or not. Yes, exit I am getting the value of I is 20. Since look at this global constant.sv, since I equal to 20 here and declared it static, I am accessing using scopeless operator. I am getting my value of I equal 20 here. Let's check it out. If I try to assign the value for a global constant again during runtime, whether it will accept or whether it throws an error. This is some of the common cases of the global constant. Let's check it with an example here. Now this class when I have one constant I equal, which is global constant. In function at runtime I just try to assign the value I is equal 10. That means I just try to change it out. We will check it out what will happen. In program block P1 I just create an object for it. In initial and begin I just write $display v.i, since v is the object of when I, and I am going to access my value of I. End program. I have got the error as below. That global constant class properties cannot be assigned outside of initialization. Since it is global constant, since values are assigned, those values cannot be assigned again outside of initialization. This is the error that we will get when we try to assign the values for a global constant. Virtual methods. Now we are going to discuss about the virtual methods, and I try to describe each point with more clearly as follows. That a method of a class may be identified with the keyword virtual. Method means it may be functions or tasks. That means if it is identified with the keyword virtual, it is called virtual method. A virtual method is the basic polymorphism construct. That means the polymorphism construct is built based on this virtual methods only. A virtual method shall override a method in all of its base classes. That means in superclass we will just define the virtual method with virtual, and later in base classes we will override that virtual method by their base class method. In virtual method provides the prototypes for methods that later override them. Since they are just act as prototypes and allow to get override by the method in base classes. Virtual method they shall follow the prototype exactly by having. So in order to override a method from base class in its superclass method with virtual keyword, they should have the matching return types and matching arguments, names and types and declaration. Let us see the example. This is a class. It has int a equal 1, int b 2, task print a begin and between begin and I wrote $display non-virtual a is equal to %d a in task, and here I have declared another task but with virtual keyword. Since it is declared with virtual keyword, it is called virtual method. In this virtual method I wrote that $display virtual b is equal %d comma b. Since I have declared with virtual, this whole task will be again override in its derived classes. That means if you have seen here, class ex2 extends ex1. ex2 is the derived class, ex1 is the super class. That means where I have defined my virtual task. In this again, in this derived class again I have declared a task with virtual task print b. If you have seen here, in class 1 I have declared the virtual task print b in class ex1. In ex2 I also have using the class task print b. Here I have been matching the names of my tasks, and here I wrote the print the virtual b %b. If you have seen here, the print b task of class ex1, it has a value b is equal to 2, but here ex2 task b, here it has value b is equal to 4, and we just try to print out, because since it is declared with virtual, this whole task will be override by this task, and it will update with the value of b is equal to 4. Next we will check it out with the program. In program P1 I just wrote I just initialized 3 values int I just define int x comma y comma z. ex1 is equal to e1 comma, since ex1 is my super class name, and I have given e1 is my variable, and I created a memory for it, and e2 I have created memory for it, and initial begin, and I try to print the value of e1.print a. What is e1.print a? e1.print a is class ex1 print a. That means it just tried, and it is invoking the function, invoking the task print a in superclass ex1. e1.print b. Print b is it just tried invoke the task print b in superclass ex1. e1 is equal to e2. That means it is assigning the object handler e2 to e1. That means we can access both the objects e1 and e2 using the one name e1. That means even ex2, what is ex2? ex2 is the derived class. ex2 is a derived class one. For derived class we have given the object handler as e2. When e1 is equal e2, that means both the parent class handle and the derived class handle both can be accessed using my parent class handle only. That is the importance of this e1 is equal to e2. That means before assigning this, we can access only the properties of derived class using only the object handler e2 only. But now we can access using e1 also. Using this e1 is equal to e2. Now we will just try to print out what happened e1.print and e1.print b. Since when I was accessing both my super class and my derived class using the same object handler, when we are accessing using through the same object handler, if there are any methods with virtual declared in both superclass and derived class, they will just override them. That means the virtual task described with print b in derived class, if override, virtual task print b in derived class is override to virtual task print b in parent class. And if you have tried to print the values of e1.print and e1.print b, before assigning e1 is equal to e2, if you have seen that I have got the output as e1.print a output as a equal to 1 and 2 and b equal to 2. When I have assigned e1 is equal to e2 and I try to print the values and I get the values as non-virtual a is equal to 1. It is non-virtual because print a is non-virtual, print b is virtual. When I have assigned this value and I try to print the values, I got the values of 1, 4. Since a is 1, since it is non-virtual, it is not override. But b, we have seen that if it is not override, it should reflect the value of b is equal to 2, but it reflects the value of b is equal to 4. That means the task which is defined with virtual is just override by the task defined with virtual in my derived class to the parent class virtual defined with task print b. In this manner, the values are get override and override. That is why we would call that the virtual method acts as a prototype, and which are later override them by the derived classes. This is the same program which I have explained you before. I just try to put it in the V8 text editor as a class exp int a colon b colon initially declared with values print a, and this is a virtual task print b, and this is the derived class. It has normal class non-virtual virtual task. I just try to print out these values. You just see it now whether it is reflecting the output that I have explained before you or not by saving it and compiling the Cadence tool. Now I am going to run the method, virtual method, and just I am going to see the output. What is the output? If you have seen here, non-virtual a is 1, which is the original value of a, but virtual value is equal to, before assigning a1 is equal to a2, but after assigning a1 equal to a2, the non-virtual value remains same, but virtual value is overridden by the base class value 4. Let us look at the example for the abstract class. Abstract class 1, which is defined with the keyword virtual before the class. If you have seen here, there is a class defined with virtual class student. What I have said before, the abstract class will consisting of all the common characteristics. For students, what are the common characteristics? That is about the class. That's why int stand equal 7 I have declared here, and int a is equal to, their age will be common and their fees is also common. These are the common characteristics of any student. What are the different characteristics is their name, their street, their town and district, and the door number. So what I did is, in function void I just try to print all the required things. What I did is, in program student information, initial, between, begin and end, I just try to put out access all the variables, and I try to access them. That means I was creating object for Vinay. What is Vinay? Object for Vinay. So student, that means student 1. What is student 1 is the derived class. For derived class I have created a object identifier as Vinay, and I create object for it. Using this object identifier, I was accessing all the characteristics of the derived class, that is the door number, the string, their street name, the town, district, etc. And this I was just writing as Vinay.name is equal Kumar. So since I have declared the characteristics name, so I have accessing a Vinay.name is equal Kumar. Vinay.door number is 74123. I have wrote here street, door number, etc. In this program I just going to define them, and in this next slide I just going to print all of this, and I just trying to access them. Now look at the output of this before example. We get the output as name Kumar, student 7, age 13, fees to 20,000, door number 74123, street name Shrirampuram, town Ashtabad, Guntur. One thing we have observed here is we did not create object for the abstract class, and we have a doubt between that, because instead of creating abstract class, I can use inheritance. The difference between abstract class and inheritance is, inheritance an object can be created for both class and derived class, whereas in abstract class object can be created for only base class. See, if we have derived some properties or some characteristics in superclass, and we will access them in derived class using extend keyword, then what is the difference between abstract class and inheritance? The difference is, if you not put virtual before the class, if you create an object for derived class, an object is created for parent class simultaneously. But if you put a keyword virtual before the class, an object is not created for the parent class, that is common characteristic class, that is abstract class. That is the main difference. So inheritance object is created for both, whereas abstract class, even we are doing extend, we don't create object for my parent class. In this way I just try to see it out. I just try to create an object for parent for abstract class, and I have got an error. In this here you are seeing here there is a virtual class high integer I equal to int class program p equal p1 high h equal p1. I just try to print out this value. You will think what is the output of it. When I try to create object for the abstract class, that is virtual class high integer I equal to end class program p1 high h equal new, I just got an output as abstract class cannot be instantiated. That means we cannot create object for it. Let's look at here. Here I just try to put all the program of my abstract class what I have discussed before, virtual class, student, fees and everything, and derived classes and everything. I just try to print out this value whether I got the required value which I have explained before or not. Now I try to run the program abstract class. See, now we will check it whether we are getting the characteristics or not. If you have seen here, we have got here name, comma, class 7. Yes, these are the common properties we have described, and these are the variable things, that is street name, door number, must apply Guntur. So in this way we will use abstract class for defining the common properties, and derived class we will describe the required properties which you want.
Next we are going to discuss about the scope relation operator. Scope relation operator is mainly used to access any enter declared within the scope of a class. Let us define there is a class V9 and this is end class, and here I have defined type dev bit 2:0 enum something. So we can access enum color, okay, enum example. So we can access this example using the scope relation operator. So product scope relation operator is mainly used to access the methods are properly declared with keyword static and used to access the any identifier defined within the scope of a class.
Let us look at the scope relation operator in my slide. It is mainly used to define the class scope relation operator used to specify the identifier defined within the scope of a class. Let us look at with an example like this. There is a class base. In this base we have type def enum red, blue, green, and example. Example is the name of my enum. In this I have got static int b equal to n, and it is the end class, and this is the all the basic construct of my class. If I see in program P, I just try to access the base operation of B. So in this manner I just try to access the keyword described with static, and this next example you would see accessing of example using the scope relation operator. Scope relation operator is also used to access the superclass variable from the derived class. We will get through this using this example. There is a base class base. In this I have defined type def radix, and I have extended its class ext from base. In this I have defined type def enum sub radix. This here is also radix and here is also radix, and here is some task. I have described two things. If you have seen here I have described to print the values bin, oct, dec and hexa directly, but here in this display I have given to print as base cooperation bin, base cooperation oct, base dec and hexa. This cooperation operator represents these are the properties or characteristics belongs to the superclass, and when I try to print out these values, and in this program block I create an object for it and I just to print out, and I have got the values as below, and I will execute it in my tool and we will find out the output. Thing we have to observe here is here we have accessed the type def function which is scoped only within the class. So scope relation operator is used to access this radix using the scope. We can able to access this radix even it is not static. We are going to access using the scope relation operator. This is an example of scope relation operator accessing the keyword static into b equal 10. Now we will execute it and we will see the value whether in value b equal 10 or not. For the program scope.sh which are our file, and we will just see we are getting output 10 or not. Yes, we have got the output as required output 10. This is the same example of a scope relation operator which I explained you before. It consists of class base, type def enum radix into b, end class, child class. It also consisting of same radix declaration of both child and parent, and in task I have just accessed, and here if the scope relation operator is used to refers to the parent class base, and one thing we have declared seen here, that we are going to access the properties of base class. Even though it is not static, we are going to access in the scope operation operator, because they are defined within the scope of class. That is why we can go into access in the scope operation operator. Now this is a program block where I am going to create object for it. I'm just going to print out. Now we'll check it out by executing it in Cadence tool. I'm run the code using this command iron -access plus rwc scope1.sv, which has my scope relation on. Yes, these are my required values. Ex class enum 2 3 0 1. These are the required class of my extended class, and these represent the base class now, which I accessed using the scope relation operator, and I got the values as 0 1 and 2 and 3. In this way, the scope relation operator uses it to access the super class, my parent class properties and properties declared with static keyword. Now we are going to discuss about polymorphism. Polymorphism, it is a principle in which virtual method is a basic construct. That means using this virtual method we have developed the polymorphism concept. Now let me know what is polymorphism. Poly means many, morphism means representations. So we can represent one thing in many forms. That means it provides ability to request same operation to be performed by a wide range of different things. Here same operation means the same virtual method be performed by a wide range of different things, means different derived classes using this virtual method. That means the method described with virtual is being performed by different derived classes to perform the same virtual method. That means your overriding of virtual method in superclass is taken by the virtual method in derived class. That means we are going to represent the same operation of virtual method in different derived classes. This total phenomenon is called polymorphism, and your virtual method is the basic construct. This is the virtual method from my slide. It allows the entity to take a variety of representations. Since it's polymorphism, it takes as many representations. It has the ability to request the same operation to be performed a wide range of different types of things. Use of variable class type to hold the object of subclass, to reference the method of this subclass directly from the superclass. This is the functionality, and above is the definition. We will see what is the meaning of it. Here there is a class parent. In this we have declared a task virtual, and I have declared a child and extending from parent, and here I have declared a task high, and I have declared it display option here. In program block I just create object for both for child C, initial begin. I have created an object for it, and I am just assigning C. What is C? C is the object, and I am assigning to P. What is P? P is just a variable of P. Is a variable of parent. What is here? P is equal to C is the main working phenomenon of a polymorphism. Here if you are saying P equal to C, what is P here? I have explained within red mark description. Use of variable of a superclass. If you have seen here in program example 7, I have declared the P parent it P. Parent is my superclass, and P is the object handler for it. P is a variable. Since I did not create memory for it, is not object handler. So P, use of a variable of superclass. So using P, hold the object of subclass. If you have seen here in program, I have created an object for child C. C equal new. So when I said C is equal to P, that means I was holding the, that means the superclass variable P is holding the subclass object, and using that subclass object we are able to reference the methods of the subclass directly from superclass variable. That means we are going to handle the derived class method, derived class property, derived class methods using this superclass variable. For example, if you have seen here in this program, I have wrote a p.high. Since P represents the parent class variable, but when even I have declared as p.high, it is not invoking my parent class task declared with high, and it is invoking the child class task declared with high. That means using the variable of superclass to hold the object of subclass to reference the methods of the subclass directly from a superclass variable. That means I was accessing the derived class methods from a subclass variable by creating the object only for the subclass but not object for the parent class. That means here the working phenomenon is the task which is declared with virtual is get override by the task with same name in its derived class. This is the working phenomenon, and the whole represents is the polymorphism. That means we are going to describe the operation of task in parent in many different things, like in many different derived classes the same task. Here, even though p.high is invoked, instead of invoking the task high from parent, since p represents the variable of parent, but it doesn't invoke this, but it invokes the task high from the child class. That means here the polymorphism means it has many representations. That means for virtual task high in parent is 1. In this one it has many representation. That means this child has the one representation of this task high to provide the output as option. There may be another child which has the representation of same task high with to display it as present and absent. That means here it has many representations. Now I have showed the one representation. There may be another representation that another child, that means class child1 extends parent. In that it also describes the task high, and in that it may have to display $present and option. That means for the same task high we have many representation. It represents the polymorphism. So when we have defined the construct p equal to c, that means the variable of a parent class holding the object of a child class, even though we are accessing the parent class task, it invokes the child class task. Now the output is going to be the absent. This is the same program that we have explained here. Just I wrote it in the V8 text editor. Now I was going to run it in my Cadence tool and we will see the output, whether I am getting the output as absent or not. This is the command to run my polymorphism code. I run -access plus r polymorphism.sv. Now just running out of it. I just think now I have got the required output absent, which defines the task in derived class is overrides the task in parent class. Now we are going to discuss about the concept this. This is used to distinguish the class properties and the local variables of methods when they have same name. If you have seen this example, there is a class demo. Integer x is a local variable and is a local property, and for this function there is a method. It has also as an argument of integer x. Since the both local variables and arguments are of same name, to distinguish use the keyword this.x, and this is always refers to the class properties of class where it is defined. Since this is defined in this class, this refers to the class property. What is class property in this? Integer x. So this.x refers to the class property x, and the right hand side x refers to the argument of my function, and left hand this.x. Look at the example for a this. If you have seen here, there is a class demo. In this there is integer x equal 10, which is a local class property, and there is a function new integer x. Since there is a same identifier input arguments to the function new and property x equal to 10. So this dot x equal to x and function. This dot x represents left side represents the my local property, and right side represents the input argument. So in program P, I just tried to demo it, and if you have seen here, I just create an object for my class. Now d equal new of 20. We know that the constructor does two things. One, it's create object, and that's it. It invokes the function with new. Since it invokes the function with new, and since I pass the argument 20 for integer x, so the right hand side of this dot x equal to x is updated to the value of 20. That 20 is assigned to the left hand side this dot x. That means the left hand side integer x equal to 10 is updated with the value of x equal to 20. Now the output will be 20. Now we will run it in my Cadence tool, check the output. Command to run my this.sv code, and we will see the output. So we have updated with the value of 20. This.x we have got output as d.x equal to 20, because since I have declared my local property x equal to 10, integer x equal to 10 in class demo, that means d.x, d represents the object of my class demo, and x represents my class property. Even though it is 10, but at runtime it is assigned with value of 20, which is the input argument for d equal new function. In this manner, the d.x is always refers to the local declared property.